Hello, everyone. This is our podcast, the Heart of Tradition podcast, covering arthritis today. Um, from another angle, I guess, because the biggest arthritis, I guess there's a few different types of arthritis, but the major arthritis that we talk about is osteoarthritis. This is kind of the lion's share of arthritis problems. A lot of people blame this on aging and wear and tear and things like that, which are somewhat true, but not really, because we were not meant to age the way we're aging. So we've kind of accepted this, and then that just becomes an excuse. Whereas, like, we look back at our ancestors, and you could say, "Oh, we live longer than them, therefore we're aging better." And it's not true. I mean, they had a lot of intense working conditions, and if you go back to the time of like the Greeks and Romans, 500 BC, you'll see a lot of octogenarians and 75, 80. You'll see a lot of these ages too amongst the elite, amongst the educated, and I guess the class that wasn't subject to all the manual labor. And a lot of back in those empires, what we fail to realize is, like, slavery was common, and Roman Empire was, I think, 1/3 of the population was slaves. So we have this different type of work ethic, we have different hygiene, we have different things going on back then, which are contributing to the wear and tear of the person, as using up those forces too early. And so people, they lived, unemployment didn't exist, because everybody had, but it wasn't the best employment either, depending on your class and your caste and some of these things, which are not fully shaken out even in those times. I mean, even in Western kind of leaning countries, that was still there. And so learning about the truth about how a lot of these octogenarians and septuagenarians and people that were totally in our age bracket at the time, without all the enhancements that we have to promote aging or to go further with age, which doesn't necessarily mean a healthier ending either. We can have a very drawn out and painful last age as well, or third or fourth age, whatever you want to call it. So one of the key things to understand about arthritis is it's basically just calcification gone awry, especially this form of arthritis, which is the lion's share. So it's calcification gone awry, and it's a society that's abandoned their principles and traditions based on the waters. It's funny how the word wellness actually means waters. And so this whole understanding of the well and the wellness comes from the waters and the mineral-rich waters created by nature through heat and volcanic processes, limestone formations, and you end up having something which creates a type of mag water and the little sulfate, and you have this sulfur and other things which create that sulfuric side too, and all of these help detoxify. So interesting that they also help the formation of bone from the formation of nerves. They're even finding out that magnesium is very essential in the formation of cartilage. And so what happens is it's the kind of flexibilizing power in the human body, magnesium. It helps to flexibilize the calcium. Not only it enters into the cell so that it doesn't rest on the edge of the cell, which creates pain and everything from bone spurs to vascularization issues and things that are based on calcification. But a lot of our joints, pain, and these are the end-up zones of a lot of this calcification gone awry. So we need to take all the millions of words off of things and get back to something much simpler about what's happening here. And it's not an oversimplification, because even though there is some other paradigms involved with arthritis and, from rheumatoid to lupus and other forms, gout or whatever you want to call it, there's still this magnesium deficiency at kind of the core of all of them. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to solve all of them either. Depending on where you're at, you already get yourself to a certain point, then there's certain things that are hard to undo, okay? So what we have to understand about magnesium is it helps in a local viscosity way very quickly through the nerves, gives them a viscosity, especially in the transdermal. But the long-term game, which is what everybody's like not looking for, like boring, they just want the short-term CBD or whatever kind of game where they can just get the dilation and things open up, and you do need those things, but the long-term game, which is the magnesium on the other side, building back out the structure of the body, this is the part that's definitely needed alongside CBD if for anything to work effectively. You know what I'm saying? You can die you can't die from a lack of CBD, but you can die from a lack of magnesium. And so there's an essential thing here. Like every cell in the human body has a magnesium transporter. Forget what you heard about, you can't absorb magnesium transdermally because there's only a small hole. Every 1% of the surface of the skin has these little holes. That's not enough to bring that in. It's like, go look at your bathtub. There's only 1% of that bathtub is a hole, but it brings it in perfectly. And so we just got all these little bad images, which are kind of timely for the fact that a lot of these bigger industries don't want to give up on all the pills. So we're trying to help people find a way out and realize that calcification gone awry is what arthritis is. And it's the way we're aging wrong. We're turning our aging, which is supposed to be a straight pole going up and then a dovetail at the end. We've turned it into this long curved, not even curved, straight farmer ramp that we go up from, 65 on up. And we just build up this ramp until we arrive at medical slavery. So we're trying to help people get out of that situation. We saw a lot of this with COVID. We saw a lot of fear in that population, and that fear is coming from the dependency and the lack of understanding. So know that it's a very simple one. You can heal all this stuff by listening to history. How did our Roman and Greek ancestors do it? How did they build that whole bath culture out of a place called Magnesia down there in the port system of Greece? And what were they doing there? How did they understand that, this magnesium was needed through the body, through the skin? They did skin and they did food. They didn't do pills. They understood that the deficiency was there through their own intuition. But we also have to realize that we have to step up our game too, because the pills never get you abundant enough. And you have to be abundant in magnesium in order to build all these structures out properly. And then you have to be abundant for a long period of time. And so that's why these were yearly traditions, and, they're figuring out now that when you get in the ocean, you absorb magnesium through the human skin. That's what the chloride, that viscosity that you feel in the ocean, that chloride, that's coming in through the skin. And so that little fattiness, I guess you could say, in the ocean, the fat of the sea, so to speak, would be that mineral coming in. So there you go, calcification. Take the mask off of it. And see that arthritis is really just calcification gone awry, and how to heal it is to make sure your magnesium levels are high through transdermal magnesium. Always come get it in glass. Check us out. We have the only trademark approved, you have to have a trademark logo on there from Zechstein inside. If it just says Zechstein, it doesn't mean anything. Genuine, ancient, none of that stuff is real. You have to get the logo on there so you know it comes from Holland. China steps in and just sends all these plastic bottles perfectly marketed as Zechstein throughout the whole world with creams and lotions, and we have to be wary of that. So let's do it right and get the one ingredient only in the blue glass bottles from theheartoftradition.com.